Now we're going to take a look at a process called unit conversion. So this question asks how many centimeters would the length of a football field measure? Well, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. It's not a big deal either way. But one football field measures 100 yards. Now, before we go through this, what we're really being asked is 100 yards is how many centimeters? And I don't have a relationship between yards and centimeters, so what I would suggest you do here, let's make ourselves a road map. How can we go from yards to centimeters? Well, the next smallest unit, first of all, we're going from not a huge unit, but a large unit to a smaller unit. So in the I think it's called the imperial system, the non-metric, we're going to go from yards to feet. And one way to think about this is centimeters. What's the closest equivalency in the imperial system? And it probably would be inches, right? So we're going to go from yards to feet. We're going to go from feet to inches. And then we'll go from inches to centimeters. And I'll provide you guys with a conversion sheet to use. But one thing that we need to know, what's the relationship between yards and feet? Well, I know that in 1 yard, there are 3 feet. What's the relationship between feet and inches? 1 foot is 12 inches. And what's the relationship between inches and centimeters? You might want to look this one up, but I think 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Now I think we have the pieces to find out what we need. So we're going to start with what we are trying to convert from. And we are trying to convert from, we have 100 yards. And then, now we're going to go from yards to feet. We're going to do this first thing. We're going to set up what's called a unit factor. It's a relationship. We know this ratio, so we're going to set up a conversion factor, which says that now I'm going to put what I want to get rid of on the bottom, which is yards, and I'm going to put what I have provided to me, which is feet, on top. But then I'm not there yet. I now need to go from feet to inches. So I'm going to again we want to get rid of feet, so we're going to put feet on the bottom, and we're going to put inches on top, and we know 1 foot is 12 inches. Oops, I messed this up. 1 yard should be 3 feet. And then in 1 foot, there are 12 inches. And now we'll go from inches. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. And something here happens. So now we've gone from yards. Those are going to go away. And then we're at feet. And then the feet go away. And then we're at inches. And the inches go away, and we can see that the only unit that's left over here is going to be the unit for our final answer, which is centimeters. Now, how we operate this is anything on the top, we're going to multiply across, and then we'll divide by anything on the bottom. So 100 times 3, I didn't get my calculator out. Let me get that out. 100 times 3, I know, is 300. Times 12 times 2.54. Let me just check that one more time. 100 times 3 times 12 times 2.54 gives me 9,144 centimeters. And that's how we convert from yards to centimeters. How many seconds has someone been alive how many seconds has someone who turns 50 been alive? So 50 is what? 50 is years, right? And we want to know that's how many seconds. Now I want you to think about, what are the steps we're going to follow? What are the units we're going to convert to? Similar to what I did here with my roadmap. What am I going to use to convert from years to seconds? And the question I'm going to ask you is to go ahead and draw a map for me and tell me what are we going to have as our intermediate units to go from years to seconds? Well, we're going from a larger unit to a smaller unit. So I think we're going to go from years to the next thing smaller than years would be, well, we could go from months, or we could go to days, right? If you go to months, that's fine. Or if we go to days, that's good too. So we know how many days are in a year. And then from days, do we know how many seconds are in a day? We don't. So then we're going to have to go from days to, I think we know how many hours are in a day, right? And then from hours of, do I know how many seconds are in an hour? No, I don't think so. So then hours to minutes, and then from minutes to seconds. So this person's been alive for 50 years. We're going to have that start, again, always start with what we're given. Then let's convert from years to days. Well, I'm going to put what I want to get rid of, which is years, on the bottoms, and we're going to put days on top. And we know in 1 year there are 365 days. And then we're going to go from days to hours. So we know that in 1 day there are 24 hours. And then we're going to go from hours to minutes. So we know in 1 hour there is 60 minutes. And then we're going to go from minutes to seconds. So we're going to put minutes here and seconds here. And in 1 minute there are 60 seconds. And now I'm probably going to get a really large number here. Again, these are all on the top. If I had anything in the denominator, I would end up dividing it. But we can see if we follow the trail of our units, we went from years to days, we went from days to hours, we went from hours to minutes, and then we went from minutes to seconds. So this will be I'm actually getting a number in scientific notation. We talked about this a little bit in the last video, so it's 1.5768. And then my calculator tells me E9. And all the E stands for is that this is 1.5768 times 10 to the 9th power. And don't forget our last unit that we ended with, which is seconds. Now, if we wanted to write that out as a whole number, we would take this 1.5768 and we would move the decimal to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'd fill in some zeros here, and then we would just kind of use this. So it would be 1,576,800,000 seconds.